did you know that just over 25% of all people that retire at some point said that they wanted to go back to work? And so a natural question for me is, hey, Azul, if early retirement is so great, why do so many people want to go back to work? So let's go for a walk and let's explore that question. I think it's a fair question because I talk a lot about if you can afford to retire early, I want you to be thoughtful and deliberate about doing it because a lot of people later in life regret not retiring early. But I think it's important. Let's look at this data. If that's the case, why do so many people that retire say that they wanted to go back to work? And we're going to talk about two studies. The first one is by Nicole Maestra. And what Nicole's study shows us is that over 80% of the people that said that they went back to work, 80% of the people knew this before that they retired. They knew that part of their retirement plan was at some point they were going to go back to work either full-time or part-time. And then there's another study by T. Rowe Price that just is chock-filled with a lot of great data. I'm going to share some of these charts as we go. But T. Rowe Price surveyed retirees and asked them, why did you go back to work? And the categories that they gave them the choices of was they had to, they want to, they would like, another category is they would like to, but they could not for whatever reason. And then the final category is, hey, you know what? Actually, I don't need to go back to work. So let's look at this. Of the total of all of the categories, 10% of the survey respondents said that they had to go back to work. 18% said that they wanted to go back to work. It's not that they needed the money. Another 12% said that they wanted to go back to work, but for whatever reason they could not. And then finally, 60% of all participants said that they didn't need to go back to work. So again, this is not a great study. This is not promotional and say, boy, look how many people enjoy retirement. But I want you to make a thoughtful and deliberate decision. So I want you to have both the good and the bad about the early retirement decision. That's why we're going through today's report. T. Rowe Price also breaks it down by the retirement savings levels of the people that they surveyed. And so of the people that had less than $50,000 in retirement savings, right, I think we all know that's going to be hard to retire on $50,000 of retirement savings. Yes, they had Social Security, but it's still going to be hard to retire on that level. So what are the numbers there? So 18% of people with less than $50,000 of retirement savings said that they had to go back to work because they needed the money, the 18%. 28% of people said that they wanted to go back to work for whatever reason. 17% said that they could not go back to work. And 37% said that they did not need to go back to work, so a third. Now, we're going to go into later in the T. Rowe Price study, when people said that they wanted to go back to work, what was the reasoning for that? Okay, continuing on this retirement savings part of it, though. For people that had $50,000 to $250,000, 10% of the people said that they had to go back to work. 17% of people said that they wanted to go back to work. 18% said that they wanted to go back to work, but they could not. And then 55% said that they needed to go back to work. Okay, so $250,000 in retirement savings is kind of tight, is what I would say it's very tight as well. The next category is $250,000 to $750,000. 8% of people said that they had to go back to work. So I think that gives us some solace that people did have to go back to work because they didn't have enough money, but they wanted to go back to work. So only 8% said that they had to. Almost 20% said that they wanted to go back to work. And we're going to talk about some purposes in a minute, but they missed some aspect of working when they wanted to go back to that. 8% of people said that they wanted to go back to work, but for whatever reason they could not. And then 70% of people said that they didn't need to go back to work. So if you're in that 250 to 750,000 category, I think that's comfort to know that people that have done that ahead of you look at it. They're on Social Security in this survey. And almost 70%, 69% of people said that, you know what, I don't have to go back to work because I need the money. Okay, now, if you have 750,000 or more, which is really where I think a lot of us look and say, that can be a very comfortable retirement with Social Security as well. Only 7% of people said that they had to go back. 14% of people said that they wanted to go back. Again, we're going to go into why they wanted to go back in a minute. 7% of people said that they wanted to go back to work, but for whatever reason, they were not able to. And then over 70%, 72% said there was no need to go back to work. They didn't need. Okay, so what are the reasons that people said that they wanted to go back to work? So the first one is needing money, and T. Rowe Price breaks this down into men and women. 49% of women said that they needed to go back to work. 41% of men said that they needed to go back to work for financial reasons. And then 25% of women said they wanted to go back for social aspect. And 41% of men said that they wanted to go back for the social aspect. And I think we kind of see this, right? As men, men tend to be more kind of, their jobs are a bigger part of their identity. Where women, and these are broad generalizations, tend to have stronger social circles outside of work. And I think men can learn from women how important it is to have social circles outside of work, particularly as we're getting close to retiring. Okay, the next one is single versus married. So the single people, 61% of the people that said that they went back to work, 61% said that they needed the money, where for married people, only 33% said that they needed the money. So you can see that, having two Social Security checks, maybe having two people putting money in towards your retirement savings reduces that need by almost 50% to go back to work, right? It's just frankly easier in many respects, at least financially, to retire and to meet your financial goals when there's two people in a household versus just one. And then people saying that they were bored, 40% of single people said that they were bored, and that's why they went back to work. And 18% of married people said that they were bored. Okay, which is a good thing. Frankly, that surprises me. And then looking at part-time and full-time work, how many people went back full-time to work versus part-time? And you can see for people that wanted the mental stimulation, it was 39% went back part-time, almost half went back full-time for that reason. And then for people that went back for meaning and purpose, you can see 40% went back to work part-time and 60% went back to work full-time. Okay, let's keep going. I do want to say, be careful about working once you've retired, if you're on Social Security, if you have not reached your full retirement age. I'm just putting this on your radar screen. None of what I'm sharing with you today is financial advice, but things that you should know about and have on your radar screen. There is a penalty if you make more than a certain amount and you're taking Social Security before full retirement age. After full retirement age, that penalty goes away. Okay, now let's look at the probability of success for people that retired. And this is just T. Rowe Price doing a Monte Carlo simulation on a hypothetical situation. Somebody that retires at 62, that same person that retires at 65, and then in this case, full retirement age at 67. So T. Rowe Price looks at it and says, hey, if you retire at 62, you take Social Security early, you're going to get about $20,000 in this hypothetical situation. Now, for the folks that don't take Social Security at 62 in this study, they're assuming that you continue to work, and they're assuming that you're making $100,000 a year during that, and that's what's being credited to your Social Security along the way. So T. Rowe Price would say, in this hypothetical case, the couple gets $20,000 from Social Security. If they need $63,000 a year to retire on the cash flows, that would be 32% of the cash flows. $43,000 is going to have to come from their retirement savings, right? $63,000 a year to live on, less than $20,000 from Social Security is the $43,000. which is 68%. And then T. Rowe Price's Monte Carlo simulation would say you have a 68% probability of success. Now, if you wait 3 more years to continue to work, you retire at 65 and take Social Security. Now T. Rowe Price does the hypothetical Social Security payment went from $20,000 a year to $26,000 a year. That represents 41% of that $63,000 in living expenses. So your savings only need to replace $37,000 for your living expenses. And so that represents right at 60% of the total. It's 60% from savings, 40% now from Social Security. And you have a 91% likelihood of success. And then finally, retirement at 67, where you're the full retirement age, you have a 49% money coming from Social Security. It's basically 50-50 at this point. Of the $63,000 of living expenses, $31,000 is going to come from Social Security, $32,000 is going to come from your retirement savings, and T. Rowe Price would say you have a 97% likelihood of success. Okay, so we talked about the benefits. Just to sum it up, at 62, T. Rowe Price says you have about $20,000 in Social Security payments. At 67, you have a little under, I should say, $31,000. And then at 70 years old, you have a little under $40,000. So you can see the difference between 62 and 70. You're essentially going to have double your full retirement, is double your Social Security benefit, according to T. Rowe Price. Okay, and then finally, if you're wondering when is full retirement age for you, I've got a table down there that shows it. Basically, anyone born at 1960 or later, our full retirement age is going to be 67. I hope you found today's video interesting. If you did, I know you're going to find this video here interesting, which talks about what is the average income for retirees in the United States. I'll see you in there. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.